Is the rabid progressivism that's overtaken American colleges backfiring and turning people into conservatives? People ask me all the time, "Hey Brian, do you really use that keto elevate stuff and does it really work?" The answer is yes and yes. Never in my entire life have I lost body fat so quickly. Not even in my prime at 25, which is over 25 years ago. I'm approaching 54 this year. If you want to support the channel and do your health a favor, grab some with my link in the description. I heard about this opinion piece from the New York Slimes from a retweet by Scott Adams. By the way, I don't know if you know what's going on with Scott Adams. He's the creator of the comic strip Dilbert, and he's recently been canceled because of this video that he put out right here. And you'll have to listen to this video right here in context. What I'll do is I'll leave the link to my Twitter feed where I posted this. It's pretty interesting what he says and why he says this right here, which I won't mention. But Scott Adams retweets this guy named Scott Galloway, who says, eviscerating letter from Princeton senior about how rampant progressivism, such as starting classes with preferred pronouns and land acknowledgments, is pushing moderate students to the right and creating conservative firebrands. So I thought it'd be interesting to go over this article right here. The name of the opinion piece is "My Liberal Campus is Pushing Free Thinkers to the Right." Pretty interesting read. He says, and this is Adam S. Hoffman, a senior at Princeton University. In the not so distant past, the typical college Republican idolized Ronald Reagan, fretted about the national debt, and read Edmund Burke. Political sophistication to that person implied belief in the status quo. For that bygone breed, an education at an elite institution was a moderating finishing school. Even then, American universities skewed liberal, but the conservatives of old had real opportunities to make their case and have their ideas respectfully challenged in the public square. At my own school, Princeton, I've been told politics were mostly separable from personal relationships, how things have changed, and yes, indeed, they have. It's incredible how much has changed since I've been in high school and since I went to college, because back then, if you had a disagreement with somebody, then you could debate with them. Your debate wasn't shut down, and people might walk away mad, but everybody had a voice. And I'm sure that's pretty much how it was for you back in the 80s and 90s, or even early 2000s. Today's campus conservatives embrace a less moderate, complacent, and institutional approach to politics. Instead of belief in the status quo, many tend toward scorched earth politics. In other words, there's no nuance. There's no opportunity for debate. There's no opportunity for you to throw your ideas or disagreements into the public square of open debate, because there is no public square of open debate. These people who claim to be tolerant are less tolerant than the less tolerant. But these changes are solely the consequence of a fractured national politics. They're also the result of puritanically progressive campuses that alienate conservative students from their liberal peers and college as a whole. The distrust of authority, the protest, and the disobedience have characterized the left's activism over the past half century or so have arrived on the right. The American universities that once served as moderating finishing schools have become breeding grounds for conservative firebrands. The story of this transformation, according to the social psychologist Jonathan Haidt, started around 2014 when Gen Z arrived on campus. The new progressive students were less tolerant of heterodox ideas in individuals. Heterodox meaning not conforming to standardized or orthodox ideas. Demands to rescind invitations to speakers seemed to spike. The terms microaggression and trigger warning made it into everyday campus parlance. At Yale, for instance, a lecturer's suggestion that students should determine which Halloween costumes are acceptable for themselves ignited a firestorm. These changes were felt on my campus too. Princeton has become a much more politicized place over the last 10 years, said Thomas Kelly, a philosophy professor. It's also become more progressive. Diversity training sessions
blatantly endorse progressive ideas. Espousing a colorblind ideal, for example, is deemed a micro-invalidation. Bureaucrats police conduct and speech. Many programs cater to left-wing causes. For those on the right, the experience is alienating. The typical American's view on gender ideology or American history are often irrelevant to his or her day-to-day life. But for the conservative college student, life is punctuated by political checkpoints. Classes may begin with requests for preferred pronouns or land acknowledgments. A student who jokes about the wrong subject might face social punishment. All students should welcome challenges to their most cherished beliefs. But from what I've seen on campus, students are not invited to debate. They are expected to conform. And that's what we've seen many, many times. People are pressured to go along to get along. If you have an idea that challenges mine, shut up. We don't want to hear it. If you do voice it, then you'll be ostracized and you'll be canceled. And those who challenge liberal pieties can face real repercussions. Because a Princeton student defended an unpopular opinion about policing in a private conversation, she was pushed out of her leadership position on a sports team. At Stanford, students who experience harm because of who they are and how they show up in the world can anonymously report classmates to the university, a policy some faculty members say threatens free speech. Not to mention, it violates the golden rule. Do to others what you would want done to you. You wouldn't want to be reported on and ousted from a university because some person anonymously reported you. Sometimes young conservative agitators are dismissed cynically as attention seekers or opportunists. But in my experience, the negative consequences of conservative activism on campus, both personal and professional, far outweigh any benefit they might incur. And tellingly, most conservatives report censoring themselves during their college years. So again, they just go along to get along. Okay, I'll just shut up. I'll get through this 4-year college degree and I'll just be on my way. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to rock the boat. Some might think that this pervasive progressivism would encourage conservative students to change their views, but in fact, it has the opposite effect. Graduates of these schools right here have described how the rampant leftism on their campus has pushed them to the right. A 2017 article in the Washington Examiner quotes a Furman University graduate saying that, quote, "The aggressive leftist culture on campus made me a more radical conservative because I only had two options: abandon my beliefs and conform or fight back." She chose to fight back. The political journey of Rebecca Adams, a friend and recent graduate, is illustrative. She arrived at Princeton as a self-described moderate. Rebecca, the daughter of a Black Guyanese immigrant father, became frustrated by conversations about race on campus. "I couldn't bring nuance to the conversation about police brutality," she told me. Rebecca says she faced backlash from classmates because of her views and eventually embraced a conservative political identity. She began writing for the Princeton Tory, a journal of conservative thought on hot-button issues like Israel, and started campaigning for free speech on campus. She described a process of learning how to think for myself. At a certain point, Rebecca said she lost faith in Princeton and her politics evolved further to the right. This almost seems like it's by design. It's trying to force people into a left box, moderate box, or a right box instead of a think for yourself box and realize what politics really is. The clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear-mongering in order to dupe average people into accepting and even demanding the chains of their own enslavement. She publicly questioned the efficacy of the Convid 1984 by George Orwell policies and called diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives a show. By October 2020, she was writing in support of Donald Trump. And then this person ends with this paragraph. Mr. Trump and Ron DeSantis are different kinds of politicians from John McCain and Mitt Romney. Not really, because they work for the same team owners. To be sure, top universities have produced outspoken conservatives like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. But now, formative years at elite institutions that have gone woke are convincing right-leaning students and heterodox thinkers that society's most august institutions, from media outlets to universities, are fundamentally broken and need to be set on a different path. If colleges don't want to produce a new generation of conservative firebrands, they need to pump the brakes on campus progressivism. Campuses that are more welcoming to conservatives are in universities' own interests. While there's likely a lot of truth to this article because the insanity of progressivism does tend to wake people up and say, wait a second, I don't even want to identify with this madness. On the other side of it, it's trying to force people on some point in the political spectrum, which seems to be designed to keep people in the same totalitarian loop. Let me know what you think about this. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. And if you want to support the channel, grab a hard-hitting, conversation-starting design you can put on any shirt, hoodie, mug, cell phone case, whatever you want. I'll see you in the next video.